one of a kind self gets stoned every day like Jesus did. What I said, he said, has been said before. Just keep doing your thing, he said, say no more. I used that piece from Jay-Z's fictional conversation with Biggie Smalls because it's about being sovereign, right? It's about being independent. It's about being self-made. And then we're going to talk about the sovereignty within the technology space. So as we open up, I want to give a shout out to the all-female panel today. Round of applause, please. So we're going to start here to my left and go to my right. Please tell us who you are, what you're working on, and how you get into this space.
My name is Kiva Chester. I'm a CEO, broker, formerly the Chester Realty Group. I've merged into Acres Realty. I'm working on a decentralized platform for the real estate industry where you'll be able to close on the blockchain anywhere in the world using your phone. I think that's very important because it gives equal opportunity, like people like you and I, the chance to not only invest but the whole estate into your community. So basically, we're doing that with numerous platforms. One of them I'm partnering with OBI Coin, and I'm also developing another platform to just counter that, the decentralized arena, and to be able to provide access, investment to all. So to counter on that, I was the first in the state of Florida to close on blockchain. Real property. I know a lot of people ask me, are you closing on a metaverse or a fake property? I was like, no, it's still real estate property that you purchase to live in. I tell people basically what it is just the technology around what you already know how to do to govern, to provide more security, access, community, and speed. Let's go.
Welcome.
I'm Alana Whitaker. I'm a retired ICU nurse. I did that for 13 years. I am now a Web3 educator, and I am a trader full-time. That is what I do. I'm a 2-time ed tech founder. One of my businesses is Digital Green Book. I teach women, children, and elderly how to safely onboard into Web3, host small metaverse activations. I travel and teach around the country and outside of the country now. And then my other business is Blue Collar to the Blockchain. We just had an activation at FMU a couple of weekends ago where some of these wonderful panelists inside the room came out and spoke and offered mentorship to some of the children in the community. Going to FMU at the high school level, we hosted a hackathon and won over $4,000 in prizes for Microsoft Cash. In addition to mentorship, we also go out and host other activations, just connecting them to careers, resources, and tech opportunities, employment.
Thank you. Welcome.
It's pretty dope. My name is Jerisha Hawkins. I am the CEO and founder of Miami-ish Creative Agency. Right now we're focusing on product design. My background is in tech across several different industries. I've worked for companies like Pfizer, University of Michigan, to name a few. And currently my title or role is AI Creative Director. My background is in freelance, instructional design, project management.
Great. So as we talk about sovereignty, why sovereignty now? Like, why is it so important? Looking at the spectrum of history from 2020, what all happened, the George Floyd incident, and how empowerment is now a theme around the globe. Why digital sovereignty? Why is that so important right now?
I mean, why would we want to be dependent on one centralized power? That's probably the first question. We see how far businesses have come into monopolies, where you have larger businesses just eating up small mom and pop shops all over the place, and it's to the point now, if there was a break in the food chain supply, can we even feed ourselves? Does anyone know how to garden? Is that a lost skill set? And that's a very real question. So there needs to be sovereignty not only about how you eat, but how you shelter yourself,
Right.
how you learn education and information, because if there's an authority teaching you that information, we see how they're trying to take critical race theory out of school. Like, that's an important part of our history, even though it's unpleasant. So not only information, food, education, there's so many other considerations if centralized entities are feeding information to us.
Right.
Well, just to piggyback on what she was saying, I think another important fact, we all heard the last shall be first, the 400 years are up. Right. So I think with that being said, it allowed small companies like you and I, for example, for real estate, I feel like with the technology that has came out and me being like well-versed, educated into this space, now I have a chance to compete with the larger companies like Keller Williams and Sotheby's and stuff. So without this opportunity of me adapting and coring the technology space into like the space of real estate, it probably wouldn't have been a chance for me to really compete. Now I have big brokerages calling me, asking me to come teach their department about how you can utilize crypto to purchase real estate, because I have the skill set that I've demonstrated and become an expert in that field. So I believe that with the sovereignty of what's going on in the community, all you have to do is just narrow into one asset class, something that you may be familiar about or what you enjoy doing, and tune into that, familiarize yourself, and then see how you can adapt the Web3 technology into that arena. That's exactly what I did. I had a call on my loan officer brother. I meet so many people and I just connect with good people. When you find good people, don't let them go. And it was maybe like 7, 8 years ago. It was like, well, you need to see how you can adapt the blockchain to real estate. At that time, I was an agent with Keller Williams. And I was like, huh, what is that? You know, they was with Microsoft, they built the game and the tech, they was deep into it. But after like going through experiences of one of my clients experiencing wire fraud, I was like, oh, I remember I read that. And then from there, that's when I was able to put the two together and start developing something that counter that, you know, just to solve the problem.
And just to add on to that, I'm speaking to the creatives in the room. So if you're a creative, designer, artist, anything like that, definitely incorporating like NFTs and things like that into your daily business would actually get you connected into the Web3 technology. That is the way that I'm approaching it as well, is starting to incorporate NFTs into my business, and how can I add that component to what I do.
And as you all talk about, you know, your wins in the industry, from being the first real estate broker to leverage this, to creating, you know, teaching modules for people, what were some eureka moments to say, okay, I gotta get in this now? Because I know everyone out here is looking for that eureka moment to kind of say, hey, this is how I want to leapfrog from where I am now to get into this future space. And it's a lot of faith, right? It's a lot of visionary, but what was that key moment that said, okay, now it's time to go? Because it had to be a moment and you saw something with it. So for a consultant, it's like when you see how much they're billing you for, right? So they're billing you for $350 an hour, right, Microsoft? But then you're gonna get paid maybe $75 an hour. That was my eureka moment. I'm like, y'all making $280 overhead on me every hour I'm working? So that was my eureka moment. What was your eureka moment when you talk about your space and sovereignty and the digital space?
For me, it was when I came home from work one day and my roommate's boyfriend had charts up on the screen. And that was my introduction to trading. I had never seen a technical chart before. The skill set of learning to read price. I don't care what the asset is, whether it's sugar, gold, stocks, whatever the case may be. He was able to enter into the market and order and made a substantial amount of money off of that. I'm like, you just made 4 months of my salary in 5 minutes. I need to learn how to do this, period. So I would caution that every family, every household needs someone to understand how to read charts, whatever you want to call it, technical analysis, charting, whatever that skill set is, because that's how you're able to invest without having to consult with a broker or someone else. You need that literature. That was my wake-up call.
Cool. That's one. Need 2 more.
I think for me, it was more of like answering the universe, because since I received that nugget, I put it on my vision board. I don't have like a yearly vision board. I have a life board of the things I want to accomplish in life, so it doesn't change. That way I stay focused on what I need to do. So I put it on my life board, and I think like by me having that embedded in the back of my head, of that idea and that theory, when I saw the opportunity presents itself, I just answered. And from there, I get opportunity. People contact me, like a lot of people like, how do you do this? I was like, I don't know, I just answer. I just make sure I'm well-versed, educated, and be in the right spaces. So, I don't know, I think my eureka moment is just having that life board, that vision, and just put myself in that places to answer the opportunity.
I'm gonna get back to that. I want you to hit that question.
That's really good. So for me, it's kind of the same way. I just follow my heart. And what am I working on? I was already in the tech space as a freelancer, instructional designer. So, you know, after I started getting calls for or getting invitations for like hackathons and things like that. Just started joining in on those things. Recently was in a hackathon. We actually won our category. I think I mentioned that earlier, but we had to say that on stage, right? Because today I'm actually participating in another one, and it's surrounding AI. Excuse me. But it's just, answering those calls, just making sure you're showing up to like meetings and things when you're getting an invitation, or if you're getting an extended invitation to certain tech events or whatever, just being in the room will lead you there. Also being an author, I know I have a published work out there, and this happened and occurred before ChatGPT. So for me, it was really a defining moment that I want to have NFTs surrounding what I do, surrounding my book, and other work that I do. So.
And as you talked about your vision board, I have a vision wall. My entire bedroom is my vision wall. And what she said was that she put the goal here, and the universe showed her, or I guess prevailed to you, what are the tools to get there. And sometimes our vision may be so complex that we feel like we can't accomplish it, but if you put the vision and make it clear that, hey, I want to get this, as you see these tools get you there, like you'll gravitate towards that. Right. Talk more about how you leverage these tools to get closer to your you said your life wall. What is it? Life board.
My life board.
Life board. And can you use one of those things in your life board and tell us like how you're getting there with this decentralization aspect of real estate?
Okay, so one of the main things that real estate has allowed me is asset. With real estate, it's a lot of time I'll be the only one in the room because I do a lot of commercial real estate, when I got my master, I have my master in international real estate, graduated from FIU. FIU is #1 in the world for real estate research and markets, proving everyone. So I was like, why not? But when I was in college, earning my master's, I was afforded the opportunity to represent the school. And with that allowed me to be the member of like big international clubs that only the 1%ers be in these type of rooms, it's called SIR. With that's just for people in commercial real estate, office and industrial, specialized office, industrial, commercial. So with that allowed me to like kind of understand the market more, therefore I'd be able to like talk to developers and investors on their language of what they're looking for, what they want. And by that, once you do like a statutory good job with one person, they always refer you. So by me was being able to being referred from a big institution as FIU to represent them, that allowed me to get into doors, and then creating a community to get that. By walking through so many doors, it kind of led me on a path like, okay, now I have the education, the experience, the vision, let's bring it together. And sometimes life lessons allow you to like, oh, okay, so how I got into tech was one of my clients, they experienced wire fraud. And from there, I was like, I remember I read that about the blockchain from when one of my soul brothers told me about it like 8 years ago, So just elaborating on just walking to that and getting familiarized and educating yourself and putting it all together. I think that's how, the vision board, my life board is being answered by just making sure I'm doing the work for myself and being able to like take a moment and pause, because I know sometimes like living in this fast-paced world, like we always on the go, always on a hustle. So my friends know like sometimes I get off the map, I get ghosts. And from that, that's when I'm able to like dive deep down within myself to make sure I'm walking in my purpose or what I want to do. Because a lot of times when people find you to be talented, they want to pull you in so many directions. So it's up to you to make sure you stay focused and goal oriented of what it is you want to do. Because like one of the old folks say, if you don't have a plan for yourself, somebody always have a plan for you. Yeah.
I did want to add to that. Because years ago, I'm much older than what I look, so I won't tell y'all my age. I'll probably keep that a secret. But years ago, the way that I got into tech was I was at Pfizer at the time, and my boss just recognized that I had a gifting in this area, just like everything techie. I was all over it. And I was doing another job at the time, and he just kept pulling me to these tech projects and things that he wanted me do. And I just realized that that was something that I really wanted to keep at, over the years. And so I just kept going back to it. So I always say, do what you love. That was one of my first companies in travel. Do what you love, or love what you do. Love what you do, and if you love what you do, you can do it for life. You can constantly continue to learn in that space when you love what you do.
And so earlier, you talked about something that's very key when you come to sovereignty. And sovereignty is about being independent and also, leveraging your own time and your own equity in a different way that you did before. Talk about trading time for money. You said when you walked in, you saw the charts on the wall and stocks, and this guy made your rent within the minutes, right? Talk about, how you've been able to understand, they call them world-class thinkers use ideas to get forward, and linear thinkers thinking it's pretty much, time for money type of, trajectory. So, I put this much time in, I get this much money. It was quoted in How Rich People Think by Steve Siebel. It's a life changer. That's my eureka moment. And you talk about non-linear thinkers, right? So you're a non-linear thinker. Tell me about, why did that mean so much to you, and how have you been able to utilize your time more now than you did before when you were trading your time for money?
It's not so much about the money itself, but it's what the money can do for you,
Absolutely.
the power of it. I think the first thought is that you're a thought leader. You have to be someone already ready for that paradigm shift of like, okay, I can't be a cog in this system anymore. Because when you think about how a system is structured from the top down, there's somebody with a great idea, then they have a board, then they got the workers, and then they got the people that sort of make things run. And that's phenomenal, but if you get stuck on one of those rungs, your time will always be relegated to whatever that clock is. Like I knew as a nurse, I was either gonna do 12 or 16 hours, 3 or 4 times a week.
Right.
And I was phenomenal at what I did. Not to toot my own horn, I've worked at world-class hospitals. My first hospital was Mayo Clinic. And I understood what branding did, because by virtue of me working there, I was able to work at Harvard, UCLA, UCSD, UCSF, Emory. And thinking about what kind of business or legacy do I want to build for myself, that I can have that kind of impact just by walking in a room, that I can create a system where I get all of my time back. And then also being able to put people from my community inside my system and have it be equitable. Like I'm not paying them minimum wage. Like I truly believe minimum wage, if we're gonna go there, should be able to afford a single person to be able to afford their rent, car, their insurance, like everything, not them living paycheck to paycheck.
A livable wage, not minimum wage.
Livable wage.
Right.
So if I'm going to be the kind of person who's building generational wealth and generational wealth systems for myself and other people, I can't clock in for someone else. There's no way I can do that.
So you're saying basically if you're going to be a bridge builder, then you got to start building your own bridge for yourself.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you more about, your ability to be a pioneer. And we talk about the upside and, owning your own brand and living your own best life, but, what's the challenges in being a pioneer in the space and talking about NFTs in your industry, which is not so much, even a fluent conversation at this point? Talk about that side of it. Because then you know the light and the dark side, so we empower people to prepare for those, challenges that may come.
So you definitely have to educate yourself, and that takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. But I think the challenges is getting our community to understand better how these NFTs, AI, Web3, all of it works. How does it all play a role? The one thing that I love about Web3 is that we have ownership now. There's an entryway now to have ownership in the Web3 space. And so I think, just some of the challenges is just, getting people to understand, this space altogether. I mean, you do have to take the time to educate, go to events, connect with other people in the community in order to get the education, and then be able to actually relay that back to your community is a challenge.
So because we want us to talk more about also the challenges and being a pioneer and being the first one to say, I'm going to do this first. We know the upside is always wealth and prosperity, but talk about persevering through those moments when people look at you dumbfounded because you're talking about something that's revolutionary.
I think I could answer that question,
Absolutely.
being the first. First thing, you have to believe in yourself. You have to be your own cheerleader, even when it's no one else clapping for you. Most great ideas, it came from solitary, just about that person believed in themselves and believed it's gonna happen. And once it's proven, then people will be like, oh, okay, they did do it did happen. So I think if you wanna be the first, you wanna be an outlier to whatever field or industry that you're in, you have to be your own cheerleader first and have that confidence within yourself to believe whatever you're working on, whatever you're trying to be the first in, it's gonna work. And once it works, I believe in whatever you focus on, it expands. So if you're focusing, like my focus was on real estate and how to integrate crypto, blockchain, all that into that space, now it's like I found my community. It just started founding me, and now we figured out how you can utilize crypto to purchase real estate, and you can borrow against it. So now you have two assets instead of one. So I have a lot of big companies and stuff want me to come talk and teach them, and I'm like, well, first you have to understand the basics, and you have to understand, the community of what it is in order for you to take that leap to go into that. So back to what you're saying, I think it's from self-confidence.
Cool. So I heard
Can I piggyback on?
edification, yeah, so we got, one point is edification, you gotta educate, invest in educating. Self-efficacy and believing in self. What's the third piece?
I want to clearly and transparently speak to imposter syndrome. I want to clearly and transparently speak to uncertainty. There's been many a day I've woken up and I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Especially when you grow up with, say, traditional family members or community members. They're like, what are you doing? My mama was like, she was supportive, but she's like, you gonna leave these hospitals that you're working in, your nursing career, to do what now? To do what now? Okay, yeah. So it is completely normal in that process of you making yourself independent, that you will question yourself regularly. You may have moments of doubt. You may not.
Oh, you will.
You will. And we're talking about you laying out, you're creating the blueprint. There is no beaten path. There's no trajectory you're following before you. So you're chopping down trees on the way. You have to be comfortable enough with uncertainty to keep going every single day. That's what entrepreneurship is. I think a lot of you in this room are entrepreneurs. So you have some level of comfort with that. I also think it's a temperament thing. I'm not sure to what degree it can be taught, because I really think it's just grit. It's internal grit. Most people I know that have been successful just keep showing up no matter how many no's they get, no matter if they throw an event and it's empty, no matter if they don't get the funding, they keep going. You're gonna see them again next week. I know some of y'all tired of seeing me. But yeah, so the grit to keep going, and then knowing that it's not gonna feel good every day.
I wanted to also say that you have to be flexible, especially with emerging technologies. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to be flexible to learn, because there's going to be a ton of things added. So when I first started in this space, learning ChatGPT when it came out last year, prompt engineering, those are my specialties. Tomonte, no, like that was the panel that I was like, yes, let me just say everything. So. Actually, originally he had me slated for that panel. I know, right? But we had to switch up some things, but that's okay. So you have to be flexible. You have to be definitely flexible to learn these emerging technologies and put yourself in different spaces at different times. Because if you do, you'll open yourself up to other opportunities like Web3. I just got connected since I moved back here to Miami to the Web3 equity with Michelle Aves. She's been featured in like Forbes magazine and things like that. So just getting connected with people that really know a lot about the space. And of course, the illustrious Alana, as well as my other panelists. They both are very versed in this Web3 space when it comes to real estate and also healthcare specifically. And now I'm getting versed in it in creative because I really want to help the creatives of our community. Miami is a ton of creatives are here in Miami. So I want to really be of assistance to the creative here, but you have to be flexible in learning these emerging technologies.
Right. So as we talk about, what are those tenets as you persevere through the space? We're talking about education, self-efficacy, believing in the self, imposter syndrome, and temperament, being flexible / agile. the last piece that I want to close on before we get a couple of questions is that this is a spiritual piece, right? Because our ancestors pray for us to be sovereign. They gave their lives to us to be sovereign. So for me, the temperament comes from me remembering that my ancestors, and I'm Haitian, and also African American, that they wish that I had the will that they had to persevere, to escape slavery, to walk with one foot and give their children's lives up for this moment. So for me, I just tap into that space. When I meditate, I think about that's the energy when I'm discouraged. When I'm, feel beaten down and downtrodden, I'm like, well, I got a TV, I have a phone, I have all these things. My ancestors didn't have none of this shit. And they have way more power, more willpower than we have. So for me, that's how I tap into that power. So as we open up the questions to the floor, what some questions you all may have about anything we shared about sovereignty? We have real estate, we have intellectuals. Please share. I've got a couple minutes. If any questions at all. I know we had a lot. We gave a lot to choose. This is a different panel, so I enjoyed this panel. This is a different panel. Absolutely.
I'm just curious.
What are you gonna say, Mike?
I'm just curious to, see what you guys think about, or how you guys feel about the future of Web3 and where you see it going. I know that's a pretty broad answer, but in your, in what you guys are doing individually, how do you see it?
Honestly, we've been using it for quite some time already. Like the concept of metaverses, the fact that we can use so many different modalities. If you've ever played Zelda, if you've ever played Toontown, you've been playing in metaverses for quite some time. It's now that we're exposing more people to the technology and adding in that element of blockchain and or just decentralization in some way, shape, or form. Just decoupling from large corporations. So where I see it going, there's so many things. Like I went to a meeting in my hometown. I'm in my Jacksonville IT Chamber of Commerce. We have an IT department there. And the last meeting we had, one of the local gentlemen is over Beaver Street Fisheries. They started out shipping like 10,000, 20,000 pounds of fish a day, and with Internet of Things technology and Web3, they were able to 6x that to like 120,000 pounds a week of fish, just because now they know exactly from the moment the fish is caught, then that gets loaded on a plane. They know how long that plane comes from Columbia or wherever to Jacksonville. It hits the distribution center, it gets weighed. The second that load is weighed, everyone in the warehouse is sent the weight of that load, so they know how many trucks they need, they know how many packers they need. They cut down the guy running around with a clipboard. Like Web3 technology has already revolutionized so many more things. And the faster we get with AI, ChatGPT, automation, we're just gonna be able to ship more product, make more money. So it's the time now for our community to get pivoted in front of it. That's the only difference I see. Us learning these skills for future.
And I would say that I definitely see us monetizing more in the Web3 space, especially when like large companies like Facebook and other companies, Instagram, have owned our data for so long. And now, we're getting hip in our community to, being able to actually take some of that ownership back, actually all of it.
Yes, absolutely.
But we won't say that too loud on camera, but.
Say it real loud. All that back. I'm gonna leave here with something.
But that's
free. We's free.
We is free. But that is essentially where we're headed. We're able to monetize and to get ownership back in the web, on the internet. There should have never been a time where a company could solely own your information, and we've been feeding them for a long time, and they've been getting billions and billions of dollars off our communities and haven't reinvested those dollars back as much as they should.
Or at all.
At all.
I think like for me, I feel like especially in the real estate sector, that it will also allow more people, I know it's a new buzzword, the acquired generational wealth. Because what it does, especially like the application that I've been working on, it allows like an ordinary person like you and I to actually get on your phone and purchase real estate internationally. So long as you have internet connection, you're able to, start a portfolio, whether it's in real estate or, with real estate you can do so much because it's a large asset class where you can have it as an NFT and tokenize it. So every time that you sell your property, not only you getting the profit from that current sale, but you'll get some royalties from every time that property sell. When it's encountered on the blockchain, you know where it's coming from, where it's going. And with that, it'll also allow like government officials or entities globally to actually have better projections on where their money going, how to spend it, where we need more dollars, and where we can allocate more funds to make a better community. So when I see like new technology emerging to the surface, especially in the real estate sector, you know, real estate is like one of the key elements to generating wealth, and it's also affected by the economy of e-commerce and other things too. With the new world order and all of these things going on, I think by having that big entity decentralized will allow more bills to be put, you know, and it'll cut down a lot of like the frauds and all these things that goes on in that sector, where you and I can like have a better education and understanding of this asset and make a better sound decision, or did I make the right investment in purchasing this property, or can I have the opportunity to purchase this property?
Well, before we wrap up, please give your social media handles, how they can contact with you for business and networking. We'll start.
It's Acres Realty, Instagram, Facebook. LinkedIn is Kiva Chester.
LinkedIn is the best place to hit me up. You can search for Alana Whitaker or Afro Butterfly. Also Instagram, Afro Butterfly, or digitalbrainbook.com.
LinkedIn, Jerisha Hawkins, or Miami-ish Creative Agency. We just started March, or you can connect with me on Instagram as well. The page is up, Miami-ish Creative Agency. You can see a lot of our product design coming out.
All right. So did anyone learn anything new today in this conversation? Raise your hand. Absolutely. Please clap for these ladies, please. All right, so that is our panel.